right, and we are back again in the Huge Boob Corner, and today my guest is the lovely, very lovely Melody J, who's coming in via, I'm going to say satellite, because I don't want to say Zoom sounds boring, because I remember growing up when they do like award shows and they'd say so-and-so's coming in via satellite, and it was cool sounding because it was like they're coming from space, as opposed to just saying, oh, they're on Zoom. As you know, as COVID basically blew that app up, you know,
right?
Like I'd never even heard of Zoom before COVID.
No,
because I was using Skype. The only time when I did video chatting for a while was Skype. So I don't know when Zoom started to really kind of become a thing until I heard people saying like, oh, you know, Zoom your relatives during the pandemic and all this stuff. So.
Yeah, Zoom was kind of like, if you're in the corporate world, then you would know what Zoom is and stuff before 2020.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've done like different workshops and things through Zoom, like have taken workshops and stuff like before 2020.
Okay, so you are a Zoom expert, essentially.
I'm not.
Oh, you're not? Okay, well.
I'm not a Zoom expert, but I am on Zoom twice a month because I do teach Level Up Wednesdays on Loyal Fans.
All right, so, and I definitely want to get into that a lot later, or a lot of that a little later. Sorry. So where are you broadcasting from?
So right now I am in my RV. This is where I live. And I am currently in North Carolina.
Oh, nice. So how long have you been there?
I got here in April.
Okay. And do you usually, I mean, I guess one of the beauties of RV living is the mobile element, and you can move around a little more easily. So how long do you typically stay in one place?
3 to 6 months, just depending upon like what's going on in the area. Am I utilizing, all the things that are around? And if I'm not, then I need to move on because I need to be able to, like, I want to enjoy where I'm at. And if I'm not enjoying it, then why am I there?
Sure. You know? Sure. Yeah, I get it. And how long have you been doing that? Like living that kind of nomadic lifestyle?
So I started last year in June.
Okay. So fairly recently.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
And you've been enjoying it for the most part?
I have. It's been a very interesting experience. I'll say that. It's not what I thought that it was going to be.
Really? In what way?
I think so. I started off in Florida and I just didn't realize how many people actually lived in their RV. And I mean, like, live as in like they'll stay in one location for 10, 15 years in an RV.
So it's like they have a house, but they're just in an RV.
Right. And I was like, oh, I didn't know I thought people got RVs and did like what I'm doing.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't realize that people would stay in them, quite that long or whatever. Sure. On TikTok and YouTube and, social media and stuff like that, there are a lot of influencers out there that are in RVs and they make it seem like it's like, oh, you're going to save money and by doing this and not living in a house or, that kind of thing. And that's just kind of not true.
That's not true. Oh, okay.
No.
So,
not really.
So what's been the most interesting place so far that you've been at, I guess, since you've been RV living?
Well, I've only been to 4 places. Okay. And I think where I'm at right now is the most interesting because I'm in like the foothills of the mountains of the Great Smoky Mountains, and there's just so much stuff to do here. And the vibe here is like real chill, and I love the weather here as well. But as far as like really like interesting, like I lived in Weeki Wachee, Florida, and the campsite that I was at was very eclectic, and they had like dinosaur figures, and he bought some little pigs and put them in my yard. And I mean, it was a really interesting place. Yeah.
Was it an older style RV park? Because there's like old ones that look like they're from like the 50s and the 60s, where they might have had more of that kind of stuff. Like if you come to Vegas, you've got your older like KOA RV parks, and then you have these super new, really nice looking ones that look like they're almost country clubs. They have like a clubhouse and it's just very pristine, and each unit or each space some of them will have like fire pits and bathrooms and really, really nice stuff. And I'm like, wow. And some of the people that own those, because some people will own those and then they'll rent it out almost, like it's a long-term property rental.
Right. So that's the other thing. Like there's so many different types of RV parks. This one that I was at in Weeki Wachee was
love that name.
Right. It's
Weeki
fun to say, right? Actually, that area is where all the manatee come in the winter time, because the water stays about the same, like 70-ish degrees.
Nice.
And so the manatee come up there for the winter. So that's what it's known for, are all the manatee and stuff up there.
Oh, that'd be cool to see.
Yeah. But so this particular place had more long stay people there, but they didn't own the lots. They still rented the lots.
Yeah.
And the gentleman that ran it was older, and he just liked collecting eclectic things.
Okay. Well, hey, I mean, I guess it made it for a more interesting place to be. So,
it was
so,
for sure.
Yeah. All right. So I wanted to ask you, so what's your background with modeling and everything like that? What's your story with getting into that? How long have you been doing it and everything? So.
Oh man. So, when I was 19, I lived in DC and thought that I wanted to be a runway model. So
how tall are you?
I'm 5'9".
Okay. So yeah, you're in that supermodel range, right? That's what they want, is like 5'7".
That's like really, yes. Like if I was just like 1 more inch taller,
Okay.
Maybe.
All right.
So my first photo shoot was in DC, and I took those pictures to New York City several times, going to the agencies, not realizing that the pictures that I have were just crap. And of course, no agencies would sign me because I am a busty and curvaceous woman, and I wasn't
those bastards.
I know. Now, like if now it's a little bit better, right?
Yeah, there's more body.
Then, yeah, it was like waist thin and
was that like
so I had a
sorry.
No, go ahead.
Was that like the Cindy Crawford, Naomi Campbell, like early 90s, mid 90s type, Kate Moss?
Well, late 90s.
Okay.
Late 90s for me, yeah.
Okay.
And so it was still in that era of like
the heroin chic look.
Right. And so a friend of mine was like, well, you should either go to Chicago or to Miami and tried, modeling there. And so I was like, I want to go to Miami. I went to Miami and I did get into like one agency, but they weren't that great. And they wanted me to lose weight, and but this wasn't going away, and my butt wasn't going away. So I didn't get booked for anything except for I started getting booked for music videos, like hip hop videos and that kind of stuff.
Sure.
And so I did a few videos while I was down there, and then some photo shoots. And then I just kind of gave it up for a while until I moved to Atlanta. And then I just started it back up again.
Okay. And you primarily would just do like solo modeling, right?
Right. And I technically didn't call myself a model for a very long time because, in my opinion, you're not a model until you get paid for it.
Oh, yeah. And, and that's how a lot of people would look at a lot of professions.
Right. And so it was like, I wasn't getting paid for these photo shoots. I was just doing them trying to build my portfolio or whatnot or whatever. And then when I finally got a paying gig with a jeans company, then I was like, hey, I made it. I'm finally a model, right?
Yeah. And so, and then so at what point did you transit? I mean, do you consider yourself like an adult model, or what would you call yourself now?
Well, I mean, yeah, I am an adult model. I wouldn't consider myself a porn star because I'm not in the porn industry, as in like I haven't done professional shoots and stuff. And I've only done like one collaboration with, that kind of stuff. And so I'm just in the adult entertainment industry.
Well, and that's the thing. And that's the thing is it's not, I mean, I feel like nowadays the industry is so varied for what people can do and what people can be successful at. And you can do what you do without having, have you been approached by companies to shoot before?
Yeah, when I was younger, a lot of times, because when I used to be a dancer, an exotic dancer in Atlanta.
Okay.
And I would get approached by people to do stuff, and I was like, nah, I don't want to go that route. And then now that I haven't recently, mostly the people that approach me are other creators who are like, hey, let's collab. And I'm like, no. I don't know you. No.
Yeah. So and it seems like you're at a point where you don't feel pressured to do something like that, as if like, oh, I should do this, otherwise I'm not going to get as popular, or I'm not going to get as,
No, I'm not in this business for popularity anymore. I tried, and like I've dumped a lot of money into doing this with, photo shoots and all of the things, and I've been doing it for such a long time that I'm like, okay, if I didn't make it now, then I'm not going to be like, oh, I bet if I do porn, I'll make it.
Yeah. All of a sudden it'll. Yeah. Well, and
that's not going to catapult me into something.
Yeah.
I'm fine with it.
So, well, and that's the most important thing. The fact that you're living the life, you're doing it the way that you want to do it. That doesn't, so, but you did say, and so because we met earlier this year at AVN, and so what was it like being at AVN, not being like in completely in that world as probably a lot of the other women that you were around were?
Going to AVN, that was the first time I'd ever been there.
Okay.
And I was only there literally for like maybe like 8 hours or something. I flew in and flew out that night.
Yeah.
I didn't really get to experience any other booths and stuff. I strictly stayed at Loyal Fans booth and was helping them. I don't feel like I don't fit in because we're all in the same kind of industry. It's just not, I'm just not professional, and whatever. And so it doesn't, I don't fit in ways of like, I haven't augmented my body and, the fillers and the Botox and the, all of those things. Sometimes I do feel a little bit like, I used to feel a lot of pressure that I was like, oh, I need to get this done and I need this, whatever. And then I just realized like, it's just a part of getting old.
Yeah. And, it's not for everybody. And if people want to do it and they're happy with it, that's great. But, there's something to be said about just, not choosing not to do it. So, I mean, it's interesting how right now we live in a, it's interesting because, and I also want to talk about this later because, you're recently taking a break from being on Twitter. So, but when you're on Twitter and you see these, you'll see articles that will talk about, oh, I spent $100,000 on cosmetic surgery to look like this, and all this stuff, and it's on the one hand you see articles that will sell. Like, I don't want to say maybe not completely celebrate it, but not denigrate it. But then you'll have other stuff that will be obviously like, why would a woman, why are women that are in their early 20s getting Botox already? Because it's like they don't really have any wrinkles to get rid of at that point. But people are saying that women at younger ages are being more, I don't know if they're just more prone to getting this kind of stuff now, because that kind of stuff is what you'd associate with women that were like in their 50s at one point, you know, like the Hollywood, Beverly Hills housewife type stereotype that used to, you know, be. So I don't know. Do you think that there is more, like there are more things out there to try to pressure you to try to get that kind of stuff?
Oh, most definitely. But also, if you know if not that if you know the industry, but back in the day, it was really hard to get up the money to get cosmetic surgery.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And now they have,
you can do a GoFundMe.
You can, right. You can do GoFundMe, yes. But you can also, they will do payment plans and stuff for you.
Oh
too.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So
Everything.
They make it, so they make it more affordable. So it's not like you're coming out like a lump sum.
Sure.
Right in the beginning. I mean, yes, there is a deposit and that kind of stuff or whatever. I feel like there's, you know, maybe back in the day, there wasn't as many cosmetic surgeons, and now there's just way more of them. Right.
Yeah, they're the only doctors that actually get paid.
Right.
Because they don't take insurance.
Yeah.
So,
and, you know, I feel like the younger generation, you know, I don't have children, but I see what's happened. I've been online for a long time, and more kids have phones and they're on social media and they're seeing, you know, in my opinion, more adult stuff that they shouldn't be seeing.
Yeah.
You know, when we were younger, I'm sure your parents said this to you: stay out of adult conversations. You know, like you're in the room and you're giving your opinion about something and your mom or dad's like, hey, this is an adult conversation. You need to go outside.
Yeah.
Right. Well, kids are now in adult conversations on social media.
Yeah.
And with that, they get all the marketing targeted at them.
Sure.
You have to think about algorithms and how the algorithms are set up. If a young girl is having issues with her like body or whatever, maybe she's looking at cosmetic surgery, or maybe she's looking at creams or all of the things, and the algorithm's like, oh, let me give you more of that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And so I think, I think social media has a lot to do with the younger girls thinking that they need to get these things done right away.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, and I remember a few years ago, there was, or maybe a little more than a few years ago, there was what was called the Kylie Jenner challenge. The
lip
with the lips and I think it was using a champagne flute to like suck the air and then create
something.
Yeah. And then people were like, girls were actually getting injured because the glasses were breaking and cutting them up, and you're just thinking to yourself, why are you doing this? It's right. One, I don't know what her lip situation is. I don't know if she gets fillers, because I don't know that as well, or if that's just naturally how her lips are. If she's like Angelina Jolie, who, you know, had these really full natural lips. But you know, and that opens up a whole other can of worms of these internet trends that people, these stupid things that they will do to try to get, you know, to try to get attention. Yeah, because now that we live in the age of the social media influencer, and you know, which is something that has really kind of exploded now, I think in the last especially 5 years, but you know, ever since YouTube and all that stuff. I don't think they had the term for it back then, but you know, and all these different things just to for instance, there's a guy who's actually been in the news recently. I think his name's like Mizzy or something. He's in the UK, and he's been making headlines because what he does is he just like walks into people's homes uninvited. He just walks into their home and acts like it's his home. So he's basically trespassing in this person's home, and then they're filming the reaction of the people kind of like freaking out, like, dude, what are you doing? And then he went on Piers Morgan a couple weeks ago or like a month ago, and he was trying to say like, oh, trying to defend himself and trying to make it seem as if people shouldn't get mad at him for doing it. And I'm just like, dude, what are you doing? Like, and the fact that this is what he thinks he has to do to get like fame and money, which maybe he does get it, but why? Who would want it to be for that?
It's it's an addiction, right?
Oh yeah, attention. It's attention.
Yeah, it's an attention thing. Like, once you have, how I got started online was I had a video go viral on YouTube in 2009, right?
Okay.
And did you know that?
No, I didn't actually.
Oh, okay.
Is the video still there?
It is, yeah. So
you have to send me the link then.
Yeah, it was one of the first twerk videos.
Oh,
and
there you go.
And I was the first like white girl to go viral dancing.
Interesting.
And
I did not know that.
And yeah, and so it had like 3 million views on it, and then YouTube was like, they put like a adult content warning on it. So now you have to like log into YouTube to like see it and all that stuff. And so the numbers
slowed down. Slowed down.
Oh yeah, like way down.
Yeah.
But so that's how I got started online. And I was like, oh, I could probably sell stuff, right?
Yeah.
And so that was my journey of like, let me get a website and let me do this and whatever. And you're chasing like, okay, well, what's the next thing that I could do, to go viral, right? That's your mindset. Like, how more extreme could I be,
Yeah.
And luckily, I'm very shy in certain things. And I was like, I don't feel right doing some of this silly shit,
Yeah.
So I'm gonna do it or whatever. But because I've been online this long, I've seen how people will get a little bit of internet fame, and then they first of all, they change. They're just like, I'm just, and I'm like, no, you can walk down the street and nobody know who you are. Like, you're really famous, this little, but it has gotten like really extreme, right? Like, not even just on social media. If you think about the adult entertainment industry, right?
Mm-hmm.
You get to a point where you're like, okay, first of all, I was known for dancing.
Yeah.
So I started off selling just regular lingerie dance videos. Mm-hmm. And then things kind of plateaued out and I wasn't selling as much and that kind of thing. So then I was like, I'll do nude dancing now, right? And so you get to a point where you're like, okay. And then you're like, if your fan base doesn't get higher and where they're still consuming that, then you're like, what else can I come up with? Okay, I'll go and do solo stuff. So it's like a progression, right?
Yeah.
You just get more extreme, more extreme, more extreme, and more extreme. But in the adult industry, what I've noticed is that people don't start off down here. They go automatically to like, I'm doing gangbangs and I'm doing this. And I'm like, holy shit, that's great. However,
where do you go? Where do you go from there?
Where do you go from there? Right? Like, what, because now you're going to have to go real extreme, like after that, and then, keep going.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with social media. So I've never heard the guy you're talking about, but I know that if that fool was in America, he'd probably get shot.
Yeah, well, depending on the fact that he lives in a country that doesn't have as much, the people don't have access to personal guns is probably very fortunate for him, and he probably knows that. So he wouldn't I don't think he'd come to the United States to try that.
No, I don't think anyone in the U.S. even needs to think about trying that.
No. And because obviously, I mean, we've had things in the news in the last few years of people getting, shot accidentally, walking into people's homes and stuff like that. Right. So it's like, and that's an accident. Yeah. That's not even like hey, this is my house. I'm going to sit on the couch and I'm going to eat your food and I'm going to do all this crazy, dumb stuff. So, but yeah, there's a guy who I didn't even know about this guy, but apparently he's got the second highest, has the second most subscribers on YouTube. His name is Mr. Beast. which
Yes.
which he, I guess, started doing these kind of crazy challenges or crazy things that eventually just caused him to just blow up. And he's got like 150 million or 160 million subscribers on YouTube, and he does some wild stuff. But it's like but for how much he's making now, like for what he's doing, it's really interesting that but I think that it's like a lot of people see him and they see what he does and how much he makes and everything, and that's what people are so like, oh, let's do this crazy stuff. And because this isn't like how maybe 15 years ago you had like flash mobs that would just start dancing in like in a public place, or
right.
like the planking challenge when people would just like be planking in random places. So,
right.
It's gotten so out of hand. It's like now you had the people a couple of years ago where it was like they were taking bites out of food and drinking stuff in supermarkets and then putting it back.
Oh, right.
And that was actually like a crime because you can't tamper with food like that.
Right.
So it's just, I don't know, this obsession with being famous and this obsession with, that kind of attention, unfortunately, because I think that as humans are just, I think, naturally attention seeking for the most part, because attention usually translates in our minds to affirmation and validation in some way. So
but in in my healing journey,
mm-hmm.
what I've realized is that attention seeking is a lack of something.
Usually.
Right. I don't think that it's necessarily like a human quality, as in like, everybody probably has it, but it should be an indicator that there's something lacking within you. And normally that's self-love.
Yeah.
And whenever you get to a point where you love yourself and then you don't have these tendencies to want to be like, oh, I need everyone's attention and I need all of the things because I'm whole in myself and I don't need someone to fill that hole. I don't need someone to fill that void. I don't need to go online and be like, I need 1 million fans to tell me that this picture that I just posted is the bomb.
Yeah.
I don't need that validation. And I think as a society, or all the different societies right now as a whole, the collective, I think there needs to be a lot of self-healing
mm-hmm.
in order for a lot of this stuff to kind of stop.
Yeah. Well, and social media really doesn't help that in terms of, I feel like it exacerbates it in a lot of ways because it gives you that kind of, every time you get a like, every time you get a subscribe, every time you get something, it gives you this little, this little boost in your, which I think has actually scientifically been proven that you get likes and it I don't know if it's the serotonin or whatever the brain chemical is that gives you pleasure. I think it's serotonin or dopamine or something. And so that's what's made social media into this kind of, a thing that people are using to really, really make themselves feel good about themselves, even though that is something that you're only going to feel as good about yourself as long as you keep getting those likes. Because once they stop, then you're going to be in the same position you were before. And then that comes back to your point about it's not about that. It's about what's going on in you that's driving this need for that affirmation and everything. So you, when I talked to you about this, you said that you did this using something, that psychedelics, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I am. Yeah, I'm definitely, I don't want to say a pusher.
No.
But so my healing journey, I've been in and out of therapy since I was like 14.
Okay.
And I came across this article in a magazine called The Week. I don't know if that's even around anymore, but it was in the back of the magazine, and it was called My Exorcism. And it was an insert from a National Geographic article. And the article was about a guy that went to Peru and did ayahuasca, and how it changed his life and healed him from a lot of trauma and addiction and like that kind of stuff. And after I read that, I was like, that's it. That is what is going to heal me, because all this therapy and talking and all this is doing nothing for me.
Yeah.
It's the ayahuasca that's going to help me. And so it took me a few years, and I got up enough courage to go down to Peru, and I did ayahuasca, and it changed my life.
So what is it like? Is it a plant?
It is. It's a combination of two plants. The chacruna plant, I think is how you pronounce it, and the ayahuasca vine.
Okay.
And what they do is they mix it together, and they boil it, and they make like they call it like jungle tea out of it.
Okay, so it's a drink that you essentially imbibe. Okay.
Yeah, it's a drink. And so the drink, like with the two plants combined, you're drinking, it's like it activates the DMT, right? It's DMT that you're basically drinking. And it's not like DMT that you like smoke or whatever they do here.
Yeah.
Because that only lasts like a certain amount of time. This is like sometimes an 8 to 12 hour ceremony of
there's more to it.
Going through it. Yeah.
It's not just getting a fix of something. It is
right. And it's not something that like you seek out because you want to have fun.
Yeah. You're like, let's go to Vegas and have ayahuasca.
Right. It's not like mushrooms or LSD or, that kind of thing that you can have fun off of.
Yeah.
Now, that's not to say that you can't have fun while you're doing it, but it's not up to you. It's up to the plant medicine.
Yeah.
Of what it wants to show you.
And is it something that's only accessible down, say, in like Peru, or is it because that's where the plants originate, and like how?
Well, it's not only accessible there. Like, you get the vine from the rainforest, and so the rainforest isn't just in Peru; it's in like Brazil and other places as well.
Yeah.
You can find people in the United States that have access to either shamans or I just had a blank. It'll come to me in just a second, but they have access to these people to bring in.
Yeah.
Now, how they bring in the ayahuasca, I have no idea. I don't know if they like bring it separately and then they put it together and boil it. I don't know if they just somehow smuggle it in. I have no idea because it's illegal here.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's what I was going to ask.
It is, because it's a psychedelic, and a lot of psychedelics are still illegal. But there is a ayahuasca church in Orlando.
Okay.
I've never been, so I can't be like, yeah, you should go there. I've never been.
Yeah.
I have done ayahuasca here in the United States. I did do that in Atlanta, and it wasn't the experience that I felt like for me. It didn't do anything for me.
Sure.
And I don't suggest that people necessarily like do it here so much, you would have to, because ayahuasca is also one of those things that you don't take it by yourself. You don't just get it and be like, I'm just going to take this and.
Yeah. It's not an individual. Yeah. Okay.
It's not that. Like, you need a shaman there. You need them. And the ceremony, how it starts is like, everybody drinks or whatever, but after a while, maybe like 20-ish minutes or whatever, while it's like digesting and, getting into your system, it's like as soon as the shaman starts singing, he or she sings these songs called Icaros. And the Icaros are songs that they get from the plants. So the shamans that I've been exposed to in Peru, what they do are plant dietas. And so what that means is they'll take a master plant that's like found in the jungle or whatever. They'll take that plant and then they'll go into the jungle and they'll just eat and drink that plant.
Okay.
And sometimes they're out there for weeks. Sometimes they're out there for a month or whatever. Well, these plants will give them songs. Okay. And so they come back and they have these songs that are called Icaros. So during the ceremony, they sing these Icaros to you. And it's so crazy because it like activates the ayahuasca, like boom.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
But they also have apprentices, and this is the word I was trying to think of a minute ago, but they're called ayahuasqueros. Okay. And ayahuasqueros are the people who learn the Icaros. They didn't necessarily do the dietas and they're not the shamans, but they're apprentices. And so you can find apprentices here and it's just not the same, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah.
From what I've done. But yeah, you can find them. And if you start asking around, you can find it. The thing with ayahuasca is that if you're searching for it, then you'll end up finding it.
Yeah.
Because it's meant for you to take it. If you're not searching for it, and somebody just mentions it and it doesn't register and click with you, it's probably not something that you need to do.
Well, and it also sounds like something that you can't just get casually in a way. It's almost like, because from what it sounds like, because there's so much preparation with it, that you can't just buy your own and then try to do it at home. Or, I mean, maybe you can, but it would just be it'd probably be wasted in that way.
I mean, yeah, I'm sure that you could, but the thing is like when you're doing it, what if you get through a place where it's hard, right? And you're shown like past trauma.
Yeah.
And you need somebody there to comfort you.
Yeah. To guide you.
You got nobody.
Yeah.
If you're sitting there doing it yourself, you don't have someone to help you.
Sure.
The shamans, the first time I did it, it was so crazy. They were blowing tobacco smoke at the crown of your head, right? Okay. And then the shaman had my hand open and he was sucking this black stuff out of my hand and just spitting it in the ground. Like I could see this black stuff coming out and it was all the negative energy. And so that's what shamans do. They move the energy out of you. They get it out of your body in some way.
Huh.
Right. But if you're sitting there by yourself,
it's probably a little different.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's not something like I said, it's not something you go seek out and be like, this is fun.
Yeah.
It's not fun. No,
which it's, so the first time you were in Peru when you did this. So
I did.
What was it like? Was that the only reason you went there, or did you go for a vacation to actually see the country and do more stuff there?
No, I specifically went
to do that. Okay.
Yeah, I did. And I went with a girl from work who is Peruvian. So thank God for that, because she speaks Spanish and I know un poquito español.
Okay.
And so it was a crazy, wild trip with her. And we did go to Machu Picchu and we did, I did go see Lima and that kind of stuff or whatever.
Yeah.
So it was, kind of a vacation, but literally my whole focus was I have to see a shaman. I have to do ayahuasca. That's why I'm here.
Okay. You were on a mission.
I was on a mission.
All right. Well, that's cool.
Yeah.
So, all right. So I want to go back to you being with loyal fans. So how did you get, how did you be, what are you with them? Are you an ambassador? Are you, or how or are you an instructor? What is it like? How would you describe your relationship to them?
I am an independent contractor with them. So, I'm just contracted to do their Level Up Wednesdays twice a month. And so it's just basically me doing classes, on all different kinds of things within the industry, because I've been in the industry for 10 plus years.
Sure.
So, I'm just sharing what knowledge has worked for me.
Okay.
And giving it to everybody. And it's a free workshop for anyone who's on Loyal Fan. So it's not something that you have to pay for or anything, which is really awesome. There aren't any other sites that I know of that are doing this, that offer so much free education and information on all of this stuff. So, so right now I'm just an independent contractor with them. And then I am going to Exotica in Miami to fill in for one of their contracted people.
Okay.
And so I'll be there in Miami for Exotica.
Nice. So what is it that so what specifically then do you teach in these level up? Like, do you describe how to say grow your, what, like, are you like, exactly what is it that you're teaching people?
So it's anything from taxes all the way up to like social media. So it's all different kinds of things. So if I talk about taxes, then I'll show them my spreadsheets and how I prepare for my taxes, and talk about things that you can write off and blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. And then I'll have a guest on. I'll have my tax guy on to answer questions and to do a presentation.
Okay.
I talk about social media. I talk about burnout, content creation, like, how do we create the content? How do you do lighting, and what equipment do we need? And, what the couple weeks ago it was, what forms in contracts and stuff do we, should we have? Right. Because sometimes, I've been on tons of photo shoots and I've never, really had a lot of photographers be like, oh, sign this model release form, when every single one of them should have a 2257 and a model release form. Yeah. Especially if you're shooting nude stuff. Yeah. It's really dangerous nowadays to not have this paperwork in order, because they're gunning for us so bad right now. Right. With all the different laws they're passing and all that kind of stuff. So, I talk about that kind of stuff, like how to, like, collaboration with other people. Like, how do you approach people when you want to collab? And, the safety measures that you have to go through with the testing and all of the things. So it's really just a deep dive into the industry as a whole. Okay. And, just helping them with that.
Yeah. And you've been enjoying it then since you've been doing it?
Yeah. No, I love it. It's really helping me to hone in on my like presentation skills. When I go to Exotica, I will be presenting for Loyal Fans in one of the talks. And so that's super exciting for me. This will be my first like conference where I'm like actually doing a presentation and everything. And so it just has really helped me like with, building my resume also of like being able to teach. 'Cause it gives me the confidence to also knowing that like I do know how to teach and I do have information to share, not just in this industry, but in other things. So it gives me the confidence to know that I can go and teach something else, besides this. Okay. Yeah.
Well, that's great. I'm glad that it's been, such a positive thing for you since you started it. And I would like to, if you wouldn't mind, get a little boob chat in, if that's okay.
Okay. That's fine. Just to so we're here for it, right?
Yeah, eventually. But obviously, but don't get me wrong, there's a lot of interesting things and I wish we could unpack them even more. Right. But it's interesting because you're more known for your butt, correct?
Correct.
Yes. So your boobs have always been more like a secondary feature that people haven't been as focused on with you?
Yeah, that's because I've always put the focus on my butt, right? Because that's what everybody was wanting to look at anyways.
Yeah, the twerking, so.
Right. And so that's back here. So they never, it's hard to emphasize both at the same time. Yeah, true. So it was like, pick one or the other, right?
Yeah. Have you had people that are more into your boobs though than your butt? Or has it been?
I've had a few people, but when you pick a niche,
you stick with it.
You stick with it until it's just not that anymore. Right. And then also my boobs are a really funny thing to me because, when I used to dance, guys were always like trying to guess boob sizes. I don't know why you guys do that, but the guys would be like, well, what are you like they'd be like, what are you like like a 36B? And I'm like, no, I don't even think I had a B bra. I think I went from like no titties to like a C cup.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then from a C cup, like I was a 34C for a long time. And then all of a sudden I went up to a D cup. I was like, oh, hey there,
okay. All right.
Hey, oh, right.
And they just grew. There was nothing like that was prompted that. Like, no, wait. Okay.
No,
interesting.
Not at first.
Okay.
Not at first. Right. So then at one point, like I think I was like a 32D for like my late 20s. Right.
Okay.
And then I went to Alaska to dance, and I thought I'm going to get a boob job because I know the girls that have augmented breasts, they always made more money. Didn't matter how terrible their boob job was, they would always make more money.
Big boobs tend, yeah.
Right. And so I was like, all right, maybe I'll just do this. Right. Well, I gained weight up there because the atmosphere is different.
Interesting. Huh.
And so I gained weight, and I was like, and it was in my boobs and in my butt. I know, right?
Boy, if that isn't the best pitch to move to Alaska, move here and your butt and your curves will grow. Your boobs will grow.
They will grow.
Yeah.
They will grow. And so then I gained that little bit of weight, and they just never went down. Right. And so, but it was still funny because the guys at the strip club would still think
you got a job,
that I was like a C cup. No, they would just be like, oh, are you like a C cup? And I'm like, no, I'm like a triple D. And they're like, no, you're not. And I'm like, yeah, I wish I could wear a C cup. Then I'd have prettier bras, but I can't. I have, and then I gained weight again last year. And now I'm a 34G.
Wow.
Good God. Yes.
So
I'm like great Google and Moogla. So,
how's it been then since, like, do you like the fact that they've gotten bigger, or is it something that's just kind of been, how do you feel about that?
I mean, I'm fine with them being bigger. It's just the problem is the bigger your boobs get, the uglier the bras get.
Yeah, that's I don't know how there isn't a like there's got to be somebody who should make like nice looking bras. Maybe if they're custom. I know that there are customs out there, but they cost a lot to get those. But
let me explain.
Okay.
So I worked at I guess I probably shouldn't say their name on here because they might get mad. But I worked in a bra department of a store.
Okay. Sure.
Not a super high-end store, but a pretty decently.
All right.
Yeah, okay. And what I realized is that the reason why the bras aren't as pretty, the bigger they are, is because they're almost like orthopedic bras.
Okay.
Because these suckers are heavy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So having like, say for instance, like this bra is a Victoria's Secret and it has these little strappies on it, right? This is killing my shoulder.
Really?
It's cutting in and causing this dent in my shoulder because my boobs are so heavy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So you need a thicker band to hold these puppies up.
And then,
and then the gore, which is this part.
Okay.
This part right here should be sitting flush against you.
Okay.
And it's so hard to find bras that do that. And when the gore is sitting flush, it will pull your breast apart and hold them better into place.
Okay.
And then you have the back part, right?
All right. Yeah.
Back here. When it's small like that, it's supposed to be in alignment here. Okay. It's supposed to be like a straight line. But when you're so top heavy, then that back part will be like rising way up above your back. And it's just like your boobs have no support.
Okay.
So you have to have a thicker band in the back and thicker around here, and then a thicker here to hold all of this mass up. So to make the bra pretty after you've added all of that stuff, it is kind of hard to do that.
So essentially it's just because the function is the more important aspect of it as opposed to looking nice. Cause from what I understand, cause I've talked to women that, they'll have bras that they really like, but they're very uncomfortable and they're painful because they don't support them the right way or they don't hold them in the right way. But so I guess that's an issue that can never really be overcome then? Like,
no, I think it can. And honestly, with so many women getting augmented breasts now, I feel like somebody really does need to step up and be like, okay, let's take this orthopedic kind of bra.
Yes.
And let's figure out how to make it at least look pretty. Now, there are a couple of lines. I don't want to say they're all ugly because it's not true. There are some other lines, and I can't remember off the top of my head what they are. But you have to understand, like, when you get to these bigger bras, they'll cost you like $100, $150.
Yeah, they're expensive.
You know what I'm saying? And then they don't last very long. Like, yeah, you can use the bra cleaner and all that kind of stuff, line dry it and all that kind of stuff. But if you think about it, like, when you're that busty, like, you need 3 bras. Okay. One to wear. One will be in the wash, and then one is for the backup.
Okay.
So 3 good bras, let's just say.
A bare minimum.
If you're looking at like $100 a piece, that's $300.
Yeah. Minimum.
You know what I'm saying? And like, who can afford that?
Yeah.
A lot of times.
Well, and think about some women with their boobs are, and I'll just use natural just as a reference because with the sizes, it's funny with augmented boobs nowadays, people don't say like cup size, or they say the CC, the number, the capacity of whatever is in there. So I'm at 2,000 cc's. I'm at 3,000 cc's.
And I'm like,
yeah, right. As opposed to natural, which is still like, oh, I'm a 34G or I'm a 36F. Like, they're still using more bra related terms. But like, when you see some of these women that are like in the LM range, like they're in the middle of the alphabet. And so the bras that they're wearing are just like, those are probably upwards of $200+ because of how large they are. And
yeah, it really just depends. There's a lady in Atlanta. Her shop is called Livy Ray Lingerie, and she had a television show, I think, on Lifetime or something. I never saw it or anything, but she specializes in the bigger bras.
Okay.
So there are specialty shops out there to help these women.
Is she very busty herself?
I don't recall.
Okay. I was just out of curiosity because it would make sense because it would be a need that helped fulfill for her as well to do it. I don't think she's like that busty. Okay.
But I mean, maybe it was just, she just saw a market for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it's definitely like, it's especially, so the other thing with like augmented breasts, as opposed to like natural breast, is that it's harder for someone with natural breasts to, how I feel like sometimes when I go shopping for things, like, the stuff isn't made for us anymore.
Yeah.
It's like it's made for augmented breasts.
Interesting.
So you put something on and you're like, that doesn't look good on me. But someone with the augmented breasts that stay in place, that's going to look great for them.
Interesting. I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
So then,
like, for instance, there's a company called Bombshell, and they do like workouty, like leggings and like that kind of stuff.
Okay,
or whatever.
gym clothes.
I love the leggings. Love the leggings.
Yeah.
I can never find a top from them that fit me because I'm natural.
Yeah.
And if you look at their advertisement, most of the girls have augmented breasts. And so it's like, oh, of course those bras are going to look great for them because they sit in there and they're not going to move, instead of us that's like, one's going this way, one's going that way, one is bigger than the other. And
they move differently, when you're exercising.
For sure. Yeah, strap them puppies in.
Yeah. But I'm curious then, since your boobs have gotten larger over the years, then have you noticed that there might be a kind of shift on the kind of guys that are in terms of maybe, when you were younger, you attracted more, say, ass guys. And do you get more like boob guys now that are like doing, or you don't really, do you even really still do any kind of performing, or like,
I don't do any, I
like
don't dance anymore.
Okay.
Yeah, and camming kind of sucks for me because I'm in the RV. So sometimes, depending upon where I'm at, I don't have like the best internet service, and so I'll lose. So it's really hard to do that. As far as like if I wanted to get into that niche, then I would have to really start making more boob content.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? But what I have found with the fans that I have, they don't want to pay for my boobs. They don't want to pay to see boobs.
Sure.
They'll pay to see other stuff. But like, if I send out a mass message and it's like, oh my God, look at my like oily titties, all the things, I might have like one person.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Because they're like, I can see, because a lot of times guys now are like, I can see all this stuff for free online. And I'm like, yeah, but they're not my boobs.
Yeah. Well, I just wasn't sure if you started to like get more attention from guys that normally would be like, because again, your boobs have gotten larger. So I just don't know if you had like people, hey, I'd love to see some boob stuff, or hey, your boobs are great. And they're
I don't really.
Okay.
No.
Yeah.
Maybe, like I said, maybe if I highlighted them, and I am looking into like,
well, maybe this podcast will do that, because remember,
maybe it will.
Obviously my audience is all boob focused. So
right.
You might be getting what?
Yeah, the thing is, like, whenever you try to break into another niche, I'm starting from scratch. It's not like I already have a fan base. You know what I'm saying? So I have to learn that niche as well. Like, what do guys want to see? Like with my boobs, is it because they want to see them in nipple clamps, or do they want to see me like
probably
the oil?
Anything.
I don't. So I have to do the research into like, okay, what is it that the guys like, right? And then I have to go through the proper channels of like someone like you, me like, hey, I've got some new boob content, mind putting it up for me, that kind of thing, and to get people to come over. But if I can't be consistent with creating the content, then I'm just going to get that fan for a couple of, maybe a month or two. And then they're going to be like, she's forgotten the boob guys,
Yeah, unfortunately.
So it is kind of hard to.
Sure. Well, I definitely appreciate the fact that you were so kind to come on the show, even though boobs have never really been your focus, but you do have, very, very pretty, wonderful boobs. So I think that you were a terrific person to have on the show. So, and I'd love to have you back on the show at some point.
I appreciate that. Yeah.
So
no, I would love to. Yeah. This has been awesome. Thank you.
Well, and again, I hope that it was, have you done other podcasts before?
I have. I've done, I think, just 2.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. One was about feet, and I love that one too, because I'm not a foot person, but it's something that,
a lot of people like. Yes.
And then the other one was just a chit chat with a friend of mine.
Okay.
And so I love podcasts. I like listening to them, and eventually I've got my podcast equipment down here, so I'll have my own podcast as well. But
nice. Well,
I got to figure out the equipment and stuff. So
all right.
That's later on down the line.
Well, again, thank you so much for being on the show, Melody. It was a real pleasure talking to you.
Well, thank you so much for inviting me.
All right.
I love it. And I wish you luck. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I hope you have a great day.
Okay, you too.
All right. Bye.
Bye.